Just explain to us, what exactly is budget reconciliation?
So budget reconciliation is a fast-track negotiation in both houses. That is, the goal of it is to reduce the U.S. deficit. And currently, right now, Obamacare changes are being negotiated through the process of reconciliation. So this is something that doesn't, one of the advantages is that it requires a simple majority in both chambers of Congress, particularly the Senate, which is why it's easier to attach changes to Dodd-Frank, for example, to budget reconciliation, as opposed to trying to get through those changes through regular order, which would require Democratic support.
How much persuasion can the White House do here of Democrats? Are there many Democrats in Congress who are in favor of, maybe not repeal of Dodd-Frank, but of significant changes to that law?
It's a good question. So far, Donald Trump has consistently said he wants to make changes to Dodd-Frank. This week, he said he wants to do a big number on the law, but we don't exactly know what the administration wants to change about the law or how he plans to do it. So that's first and foremost, before even going to Democrats to see sort of what's on the table. But the point here is that it's increasingly looking like, you just take a look at what's been happening in Congress this week. It's looking increasingly harder to get Democrats to go along with really any big changes to big laws that were passed under President Obama. And so that's why Republicans are starting to look into what is feasible and what could be attached to something that doesn't need their support at all.
Yeah, this seems to be a tactic that Democrats maybe are taking in several areas. Where else might we see this kind of approach, Elizabeth?
Tax reform has been identified, and quite frankly, when you're talking about Dodd-Frank, that's one of the big challenges, that there's a lot on the to-do list of Congress and the administration, and whether or not there's room. This is a very difficult, messy process. It's politically risky, and there's no guarantees that any of this would even work or sort of be approved. So it remains to be seen sort of where leadership in the House and Senate will fall in terms of how much they want to prioritize this.
Elizabeth, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, has been such a magnet for criticism since this law was passed, since Elizabeth Warren, now Senator, headed up that agency. And we hear it again. We hear congressmen talking about what shape that bureau should take. I'm struck. I was reading a Bloomberg View piece by Cass Sunstein, formerly the Regulatory Office in the White House, now at Harvard Law, and a Bloomberg View columnist, saying we could face a constitutional crisis here if the president or Congress tries to unilaterally change the composition of that agency. What's being considered, and how likely are you hearing changes would be to the way that bureau is run right now by one person? It's been floated or suggested by many Republicans that it should be a committee like the SEC.
Right. It's all in President Trump's hands right now. And the big looming question is whether or not Trump chooses to fire Richard Cordray. There are several reasons that he could give for doing that. He could fire him for cause, or he could, you mentioned the sort of constitutional aspect of this, his administration could deem that the position that Cordray has is unconstitutional, which raises a lot of questions because something like this has never been done before, particularly because the CFPB is a new agency and is structured and created very differently than other agencies have. There are a lot of hypotheticals, and certainly hearing all sides of what is possible and what are the repercussions of that. It really starts with the president. We haven't yet seen him, decide whether or not where he's going to go in terms of the leadership of the CFPB.